What's up, everybody? It's NFL Week 5 predictions. We're back. It seems like it was just week 1, but we're flying through the NFL season. I'm super excited to be here with Brandon J. McDermott, Matt Brown. Obviously, guys, I'm Beard Laws. Fellas, how's things going?
Sunday was glorious. The weekend, as you said before we started, went way too quick, but excited for another week of prep before more football games this weekend.
It was pretty good, and it did go way too fast, but I also got to say that Sunday was not the greatest day for bettors, and we'll get to more of that later, right?
Absolutely. Well, I say we just jump right into it, fellas. You guys ready?
Let's go.
Kick it off with the Thursday night game, which is going to be the Rams versus the Seahawks. The Rams are opening at a 1.5-point favorite, coming off their first loss of the season.
Well, obviously, the Rams were a little bit exposed last week, but I see a big bounce back against a rival. The Rams will take this one, and they're going to cover on the road.
The term bounce back game, I feel like, is used a bit too much nowadays, but I really do agree, and I really do think that this is a bounce back game for the Rams. They may be on the brink of a good bounce back against the Seahawks, which I think they'll have more success against the Seahawks defense than they did against the Cardinals defense, who can show up from time to time. Also, Rams 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 against Seattle specifically.
I think Russell Wilson looked fantastic last week. I don't care what Madden has to say with their predictions. I'm liking Seattle at home. I like them to not only win the game, but cover that easy 1.5-point spread. I'm curious to see where that kind of jumps up the rest of the week in the short week. Let's get right into an early Sunday morning game. You have the New York Jets taking on the Atlanta Falcons, 9:30 a.m. on the East Coast, and the Falcons open up as a 3.5-point favorite. I do believe that it opened at 4.5. It's already moved to 3.5.
Well, Jets obviously had a great win last week, their first of the year. This is the battle of the 1 and 3s. Now, I don't like either of these teams, but I like the Jets less. I think the Falcons cover at home.
Nothing is good about this matchup, and yes, you mentioned that I'm on the West Coast, so you may just catch me catching the highlights of this game. Let's be honest. Look, Atlanta is 1-5 against the spread in the last 6 as a favorite. The Jets are 1-4 against the spread in the last 5 overall. There's a lot of ones in the win column here. I'll just say I like the Jets to cover here. I think it's within a field goal at least here.
Matty Ryan at home. Eventually, the dude's got to win. He's got a lot of experience, which is much more than the guy under center with the Jets. I like Atlanta here with Davis. He's going to have a great game, I think. I like the Falcons to win and cover that spread. Let's move on to Denver, traveling to Pittsburgh. The beloved Denver Broncos, of somebody in this room who's smiling right now. What do you think of this game here, Brandon?
My Broncos had a big letdown last week, but they had 7 key players injured, including 2 starting offensive linemen. But the good thing is they get an opportunity to have Matt's favorite phrase, a bounce-back game this week against the sagging Steelers. I think they will. I think the Broncos cover here.
We'll see about, Teddy Bridgewater playing. I do think this hinges on who is quarterback, because I honestly think Drew Lock is certainly no lock to be successful against the Steelers defense that we're still able to sack the ever elusive Aaron Rodgers 3 times in a game where they were down. As rough as Big Ben looked, if Drew Lock is the quarterback, I know it's concussion protocol for Teddy Bridgewater. We'll see. I do think the Steelers can do enough here.
This is a tough one for me, all right? This is the game that the Steelers almost need to. You hate to say need to at week 5, but they're in a tough division, in a tough conference, and I really think that if they can't get back at track versus their home crowd, that they're in a lot of trouble this year. So I'm going to go Steelers. In Denver, they're not in those Rockies anymore. They're traveling all the way to the East Coast for the Steelers' sake. That has a little bit of a factor. You got the Detroit Lions traveling into Minnesota. Skol! Vikings. The Vikings are opening up at a 7.5-point favorite.
Big division battle. And man, the Lions look like, well, the Lions again. Yeah. Vikings haven't looked great this year, though. So I'm taking them, but I think they're going to fail to cover this spread.
I thought the Lions would show out more against the Bears, so I'm going to learn my Well, you know what? I won't learn my lessons. Even though I said the Lions last week, I'm going to stay with the Lions this week. The Lions should be 0-5 in real life. Don't get me wrong here, but I think they can cover against Minnesota.
I'm going to go with the opposite, not just to go with the opposite. I think Detroit is that bad. I think the crowd's going to be electric. I think Detroit is terrible. I'm not even sure if they're going to score a point this week. They keep getting worse, if even possible. Apparently, when you talk smack enough on this episode or previous ones about a team, then they end up winning. So sorry, Minnesota fans, if that does happen to you, but I like the Vikings here in a big double-digit win. Then we have another interesting game. We got Green Bay traveling to Cincinnati, and Green Bay is going to be a 3.5-point favorite on the road, taking on Joe Burrows and the boys.
The Pack are clicking right now, and the Bengals are quietly 3-1. This is going to be a very close game, but I like the Pack to cover here.
I think it's going to be an entertaining duel between Joe Burrow and Aaron Rodgers. Who would have thought that you would say that for an entertaining duel? But I think it would be. Green Bay is 5-1 in their last 6 games against the spread, following a straight-up win. So I'm just going to say I like Green Bay in this one. Aaron Rodgers and his Pack just seem under control.
This maybe is going to be the 3 of our lock of the week because we're going unanimous on here. It doesn't seem to matter where they go. They are firing all cylinders. They're fairly healthy. They're playing just too good right now. I like Green Bay to cover this spread and get that dub in Cincinnati. Miami Dolphins, Battle of Florida, heading over to Tampa Bay. Tom Brady coming off that big win. Tampa Bay is opening as a 10-point favorite at home versus the interstate rival.
Well, I think the Dolphins obviously didn't win last week, but they're a gutsy team, and I like how they play. The Bucs are coming off a big emotional win. I see the Bucs winning, but I don't see them covering the spread here. I see this as a tight game.
I do agree with you here, Brandon. I feel like in the general public, this one better be a blowout, right? I mean, Jacoby Brissett hasn't looked great, and Tua's not able to come back off of the IR for this one. So you have a Tom Brady Buccaneer-led offense that shouldn't be quiet 2 weeks in a row, but let's not forget Brian Flores is the coach of the Dolphins, and he's an expatriate defensive coach as well. We'll go with the Dolphins as well.
I'm going to go with the points. 10 is a lot. Tom Brady is firing all cylinders. Something about the Dolphins, I think they're going to be able to keep this close, not long to travel, easy, kind of week to prepare. If any team going into the game goes, hey man, we're a 10-point, we got nothing else to lose, and that's a dangerous, dangerous recipe in sports. Speaking of Patriots coming off that close but tight game, they are going to go on the road to take on the Houston Texans. They are opening as a 9-point favorite on the road.
Another battle of the 1 and 3s, but these are 2 very different teams with 2 very different trajectories. And I think, as you just mentioned, the spread shows that. I see the Pats winning, and I see them covering easily.
I will say I do see the Pats winning in this one, but I will say that the Pats' will to win, their path to victory is to drive methodically, run the clock, and let the defense win the game for them. So I don't exactly expect this to be a blowout. I think the Texans can cover here.
I like Houston with the points only because they didn't score any last week, and I feel like they need to come out. And I think they're going to be taking on a much different team than the Buffalo last week. And I'm going to go with the Texans plus 9. So we got the Saints are going to travel to the Washington football team. The Saints open as a 1-point favorite on the road.
It could certainly affect things, but I have a bigger question. Who are these Saints? They are a Jekyll and Hyde character in the NFL if I've ever seen one. Meanwhile, Washington is starting to click with Heineke magic, and though their defense hasn't been what it was expected to be stats-wise, they still have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. I like Washington to win this one at home.
I mentioned it last week. Saints coach Sean Payton has tried to keep Jameis Winston under control to start the season. Even though he finally threw over 200 yards last game, 226 is hardly like he was unleashed. The Saints ultimately lost to the Giants. I think it stays close again, and when it's close, I'll trust Taylor Heineke magic, as Brandon mentioned.
I'm liking the Saints here. I think they recover here. Washington's defense hasn't been what it was supposed to be. I mean, who wants to come back, not only lose to 2 NFC East teams, but especially the football team and the Giants? I like the Saints. Let's talk about Philly, who's traveling to take on the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers open at a 4-point favorite at home.
Well, I see another game where we're going to see a very big, here's our special word of the week or phrase of the week, a big bounce back. The Panthers were shellacked last week against the Cowboys, but I see them getting those trains back on the tracks and covering at home.
Speaking of bounce back, the Panthers are 5-0 against the spread after losses that were against the spread. I do like Sam Darnold looking a lot better against this Eagles defense. I know the Eagles have been looking good as well under Jalen Hurts, but the Panthers just have too many weapons, even without Christian McCaffrey. So I like the Panthers in this one.
I just instantly think Eagles. I don't know, my gut says that the Eagles going down to Carolina, they're like, hey, this is going to be like a vacation for us because it's nice weather. We're not in the Pennsylvania state anymore. We're going to take advantage of this nice weather. I think they win the game, but I think they can easily keep it close enough to cover that 4-point spread. Titans. Whew, rough week. As we spoke about, they lost to a team that plays their football in New Jersey, but they are going to travel down south to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they are going to be a 4-point favorite on the road.
Well, let's see. The Titans lose against the Jets last week, and the Jaguars are still winless. I know I called the Jags to win last week, and I was wrong. I'm going to take that, but I see that finally changing this week. The Jaguars get their first win at home.
I will not continue that. I'm sorry. I just don't have the guts to agree. As disappointing as it was for the Titans to fall to the Jets, I still think that the Jaguars are just that much more in disarray. This time, Ryan Tannehill and his O-line can adjust so that they won't get sacked 7 times. So I think I like the Titans here.
Lawrence has lost more games this season than he has in high school, college, or his entire playing career already in the NFL. I think they lose again. I think the Titans come out, show that they're an AFC contender, and probably get back a couple of their main receiving core. And I think they just do work down in Florida. Let's talk about the Bears, the Raiders, 4.5-point favorite. The Raiders are in Vegas.
Well, the Raiders, I believe this started out at 6.5. It's fallen down to 4.5 here.
Yeah.
So but they're still a favorite at home. In their last 7 games as a road dog, the Bears are 1-6 against the spread. I'm taking the surging Raiders to cover and to win easily.
Early in the season, I think organized teams beat unorganized teams. And even though Justin Fields looked a little bit better, I just don't know if the Bears can get it together enough to beat the Raiders here. Do like the Raiders to cover.
I like the Raiders to cover as well at home. If Andy Dalton is healthy, he's our starter. I think it's tough for a team to be able to prepare internally, externally. I think the Bears are just too much of a mess to be able to keep up with this, and I like the Raiders. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns and the Chargers. This right now is a pick'em game. So, fellas, we don't have to worry about spreads. Who's going to win this game?
Well, the Browns are finally coming into their own. They're exactly who I thought they would be. Many people thought they would be before the season. The Chargers are also a solid team. I like the home team Chargers to win this one, but I think they win by 2.
The Browns defense really did show up against the Vikings, and I think they might be able to again against LA. Short week for the Chargers, so I think Cleveland just has the overall advantage in this one.
I'm going to go with the Chargers here. They have a potential to have another breakout game. Yes, they have a little bit of a shorter week than Cleveland, but they are playing at home. I like the Chargers to beat the Browns. Close game, but I think they got this one. Let's talk about a division game. Still a 425 game, but you got the New York Giants traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are opening at a 7-point favorite.
Well, the Cowboys are great. They're 4-0 against the spread this year, and the boys looked about as solid as I've seen them or anybody's seen them really in quite some time. I see that continuing, and I see them covering here.
Pretty much what Brandon said here. Look, they're the only team that is still perfect against the spread this season in the NFL. I think the Giants are just not good enough to beat this spread, even though it's a few points, but I think the Cowboys can cover.
I'm liking the Giants to cover this, all right? Yes, the Cowboys have been looking good. The Giants are 5-0 in their last 5 games versus the NFC East. It's unpredictable. It's still, in my opinion, the worst division in football. This is down from 8 already. I like the Giants to cover the spread here. Let's talk about a West Coast game right here. We got the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Cardinals are opening at a 5.5-point favorite after an impressive win last week.
Well, the Cardinals are flying high. Plus, the Niners are not quite solidified at the QB spot with an injury to Jimmy G. I think the Cards roll in this one, and they win by 10 points.
10 points is a good prediction here and a strong one. I think Arizona does look like the strongest team in the league, at least after they beat the Rams. But look, the Niners, straight facts, they're starting a rookie if Jimmy G can't go. I know Trey Lance looked a lot better than I think Justin Fields looked in his first game, but I think the Cardinals defense will be able to prepare for this running quarterback because they've got a running quarterback of their own.
I'm liking Arizona here with the points. It's a 5.5. Interested to see as the quarterback situation in San Francisco pans out if the line moves at all. But 5.5, I like it. I like Arizona. I'm super excited to talk about this next game and hear what you guys think. You got the Buffalo Bills going to the Kansas City Chiefs game, and the Chiefs are currently a 2.5-point favorite at home.
Well, if you look at the AFC West, in my mind, still one of the best, if not the best division in football, and you say to yourself, who's the most talented team there? You probably say the Chiefs. They're in last place in the division. That's how strong that division is. But the Chiefs are finally coming into their own with Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes finally clicking last week in a big way. I think that continues against the Bills, who've been underwhelming this year. The Chiefs cover here.
I don't know. I think the Bills have been underwhelming because they haven't needed to show off or really show out because they've had a few lesser opponents, should I say. This is the one to step up. Very excited for this one. And I do think the Bills can step up. I don't think the Chiefs defense can stop anybody. That's the problem here. The Bills can at least cover and maybe win this one outright.
The Chiefs are 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 home games. 2.5. I think they are, obviously one of, if not the best best teams in football. I like the Chiefs here to cover, get the win, but I think it's going to be a great game. 56.5 is the over-under right now. I think there's going to be like 1,000 points in this game. Super excited to see this one. And then let's talk Monday night. You got the Indianapolis Colts going to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, who are a 7-point favorite right now.
Well, the Ravens had a big week and a big win last week in Denver. The Colts here, I don't think they're as bad as their record indicates, even though their record indicates they're not very good. But I see the Ravens winning, and I see them covering here.
I say Indy is 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 on the road. I do think they're a pretty good road team, and I do think they can do enough against Baltimore, even though Baltimore looked dominant against the injured Broncos.
This is going to be a pretty good game, but I think the Ravens are just the better team at this point, and I think those guys in Vegas, they know what they're doing with this line. I'm going to go with the Ravens at home, prime time, because they have Jackson, and he is just an absolute animal. Week 4, that was a little bit rough. The house, they made out fairly well, and the Vegas odds crew, we didn't do so well. Matt, why don't you tell us about the locks of the week?
Remember that the name is locks of the week. So these are supposed to be the ones that just are supposed to set it, forget it. It's a win. No, we went 0-5 last week. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sorry, Matt, but I have to say that even your lock of the week, the Jets one, didn't go because the Jets won.
You know, the past is behind us. It's over. Week 4 locks, you know, everybody's allowed to have a bad week. We had ours. Let's move on. Week 5. What are the locks of the week?
Tom McNeil, he is 2-2 now. You're going to see a lot more even records nowadays. He's going to take the over on the 51.5 points for the Giants against the Cowboys. And moving on, Brian Henzel, he's 3-1. Buffalo, 2.5 against Kansas City. Now, mind you, that's plus 2.5. Buffalo just has to cover that against Kansas City, maybe make it a 1-point game, even if Kansas City wins. And we'll see. He calls that a lock because Buffalo has been looking pretty good, even though it's against weaker opponents. Matt McLear, Beard Loves, says it's the Raiders -4 against Chicago. He says the Raiders will be able to beat Chicago at least by 4 points. I think of those 3, and we only got 3 this week because I feel like last week just disappointed people too much. 3 this week. I think of those 3, that's as much of a lock as possible.
We're going 3-2 on the year, even though we might have a couple extra picks to put us ahead. But 3-2, we're going it. Lock of the week. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Tom, as well. I'm super excited to be able to watch the rest of the games. There's some great games this week. Hopefully, we were able to help you all with some of your picks and predictions. Thank you guys for watching this. Brandon, why don't you tell them who you are and where they can find you?
Brandon J. McDermott on Brandon J. McDermott all over social media.
All right, and Matt?
Matt Brown at the Ohana Jones all over social media as well.
And obviously, I am Matt, also known as Beard Laws. And let us know in the comments what your lock of the week is, because I'm super excited. We appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of the week.